Hey there, Kevin Colby here, and this is the Real Creative Life podcast, video podcast that I am saying right here. I'm laying down that I want to get more consistent with this, so I can I can share ideas and struggles and everything like that. My goal with this podcast is to be about as real as you can be, meaning probably not a lot of the bells and whistles that you may get used to seeing. I don't know. The part about the video part is I have a whole different YouTube channel just for this. There's like all of 3 episodes to it. And then I've recently got access to the video part of Spotify. So I don't know if you knew that or not, but I'm actually using Anchor to host my podcast. It's free, it's easy to use. I really like it. Did I mention it's free? And I don't know, a year or so ago, Anchor got bought by Spotify. Pretty sweet. And that Spotify and Apple are going back and forth on things. Well, Spotify recently introduced video as part of it. And I was actually watching started listening to a podcast from a friend of mine, Rob Balasabas, and realized, oh, wait a minute, if I click this, it opened up the video. And, to me, it just adds another component, another a way to to kind of hit different mediums. And of course, the beauty why I preach a lot of times and really suggest, maybe that's a better way of saying it, that if you're going to start a podcast, actually, I guess this could apply even if you already have a podcast. But if you're going to start one or do one, why not just do video? If like, for example, if I take this right here, I've got the video part and then I've got the audio part. I can strip it out if I want to. But then I can also take it around and have it transcribed. There's a lot of services out there that can do it for free and paid. Then you get a blog post. So you can do a lot of different things. If you record it just as a podcast, which I'll admit there's nothing wrong with, and sometimes it's just easier to pop a mic on and start talking. But if you do it that way, you can't really go back and add video. Now you can add graphics and have you ever seen the little waveform monitors that kick when you talk? To me, that's not a video podcast. Yeah, you could say, well, Kevin, that is video. It is, but it's kind of like augmented video. It's not really you talking. So, but my plan is to do these as video podcast. I may have guests from time to time. It may just be me talking about things, but this is really about testing out the Spotify feature. So as I understand it, the way it works, I'm recording this. Actually, I'm using Ecamm to record this. And what I will do is, as I upload it to Anchor, I can actually upload then the video file as well. So it kind of does double duty, and then it gets pushed out. Now, what happens when it goes to Apple Podcast and Google Podcast or whatever they call it? It'll just be a podcast at that point. You can also do the same thing with StreamYard. So StreamYard and Ecamm are my two favorite live streaming apps. There's a lot of them out there. I don't know that much about Restream. I did some work with BeLive, and they're great folks. I just choose Ecamm and also StreamYard. StreamYard has a lot of cool features as well. So, but my goal with this podcast, do I always have to say video podcast, even though there's probably going to be video attached to it? But the point of this is to get more consistent with sharing things. So there might be things I talk about on here that I don't know. Does it work as a YouTube video or not? I don't know. There's a whole nother conversation about the algorithm and the analytics and creating just to create, but yet chasing things. And I think that's a conversation I want to have at some point too, because I'm guilty of all that. But this is really testing out the Spotify video feature as a video podcast. Now, what I think I will be doing from this point on is I will still be uploading these to YouTube as I do them. I mean, why not? I may even do some live. I may even do them on my own channel. And then I'll also upload it to Spotify. I like Spotify, but I'm not going to rely on that as my sole video source. And I've gone back and forth before about whether I make this part of my main YouTube channel. I have other YouTube channels, but I really only have one I focus on for um, revenue and for sharing and things like that. And it's the one called Kevin Colby. I do have one for my business, which is Kevin Colby Media. That's where I put the projects that I've worked on for businesses and nonprofits and things like that. I don't promote it because I'm not trying to grow it, but I do want to have my work out there, if anything, just for legacy. Um, but I go back and forth. I know that my friend Scott McKenna and I have talked about this, and he's a big proponent of just have it on your main channel because it's part of you, it's part of your branding, and I think there's a lot to be said about that. I know, Sean Cannell and the Think Media team, they've spun off theirs as the Think Media podcast, but yet when you go to their Think Media YouTube channel, there's a place on there where they actually show the podcast channel. And so yeah, and I'm not, I'm very cognizant of the fact that it's another YouTube channel, it's another one to keep up with. I don't know that that's a bad thing. I'm also about simplistic. And in a way, I think just adding this to my regular channel might be the way to go. So I don't know. But that's one of the things that I want to do with this video podcast. And I may even do it live from time to time because I think there's something there about just putting yourself out there, which I've never really seemed to had a problem to do. Um, I never had a desire to be on camera, but I'm on camera a lot, and I think it's because that I haven't really desired that it just doesn't intimidate me. I mean, I'm talking to a webcam right now, and I'm fully aware of that. But I hope I'm communicating to you wherever you're watching from. Um, but I think this is the way I want to go with it as a video podcast. It'll still be available on Anchor. Now, I've also stumbled across a site called Podpage, and I'm using it as kind of a media hub. It has my podcast and my video and a blog, and I'm really intrigued with it. It's very inexpensive. So there's a lot of different ways that you can sample this, which isn't bad, which is completely different than creating different pieces of content for different places, which I'm not against. It's just it's me. I'm a solo content creator, solo entrepreneur, solo business owner, and I've got a family, a little boy with special needs, and so there's sometimes when work gets put on hold, and that's okay. So this is kind of another episode in just trying something new. I may try and record this different ways, and that may depend on sponsors. If some come on board, we're talking about to some. But I would love to hear any feedback, any thoughts on anything on what I'm using and what I'm doing. I do want to do these more often, and I do want them to be as interactive as hopefully they are, because I think in a format like this, I can get a lot more. I can just be a lot more free to talk and share. I'm not overly worried about what it looks like. I'm not overly worried about graphics and the polished look. That is the one thing I really appreciate about my friend and brother Rob Balasabas is, I was watching one of his today, and he was talking about just how he's trying to do more live to video, if you will. We used to call it live to tape when I was in television years ago, and he talked about doing more that way because he doesn't have to prep as much, which is true. I mean, I love editing, but it can take a while, and depending on how you edit and depending on the amount that you put into it, it can just take quite a while. So there is something freeing in a format like this, as long as I'm bringing value to you. And that's just one of the things I want to do. I don't know that I've done a good job of being as open and transparent about things. Now, there's some things I'm not going to share because they're more personal. or maybe I can't talk about a specific client or something like that. But I want to make sure that I'm, doing one of the things the sign says right back there is that inspire. If you're listening to this, I have some artwork on my wall, and one of them is just the word inspire, and that's what I hope to do. If you're out there and you haven't gotten started, you know, I always say the best time to start was yesterday. The second best time to start is today. So I do hope that you connect with me wherever you can. On YouTube is at Kevin Colby. If you want to check out the pod page thing, all you got to do is type in realcreativelife.com, and that's going to be kind of a hub for podcast and video and blogs. You can also leave me a voicemail there, which is pretty sweet. Or you can just hit me up on kevincolby.com. If you want to work together or something like that, just drop me a message there. But I hope you like this format. I say that, but I'm probably going to do the format even if you don't like it. So I hope you like some of the things I talk about. How about that? But remember, just whatever you do, don't be afraid to start, share your gifts, and make an impact in the world. And thank you for listening. If you like it, subscribe and leave me a message on Anchor. You can leave a voice message, and on the pod page thing, which is realcreativelife.com, you can too. So I'm Kevin Colby, and we will talk in the next one.